podcast contains segments that use hypnotic language, guided imagery, and a relaxation-based storytelling. For your safety, please do not listen to these portions while driving, operating machinery, or performing any activity that requires your full attention. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody. This is Greg Stewart here, and welcome to the podcast. Before we get started with this amazing story that you're about to hear in reference to one of my clients, please subscribe, like, share, and comment. It's going a long way, and I thank you with all my heart. So I don't want to hold you up. Without further ado, let's get into the story. We're going to be speaking about a woman who left a marriage not because she was being cheated on, but basically because she got bored after years and years of a marriage that just didn't stimulate her anymore. And then she finds a colleague that she works with a good amount of time after she got divorced, only to find out that this person was married, which she knew going in, and she accepted that, but she comes to find out some other interesting things about this man as well. After all, she did accept that he was married, and she was fine with that. But where it takes her is not what she expected. This is her story. Her name is Maureen. I want to tell you the story about Maureen. She thought she knew exactly what she wanted. She is a woman who spent 15 years in a marriage that looked stable from the outside, but felt hollow on the inside. And sometimes, when a person feels hollow long enough, they start to believe that the emptiness is a sign that something is missing, a sign that something better must be waiting, a sign that the life they are living is not the life they're meant to keep. Now, this is a story not about whose fault it is or did you do something to me. No, this is a story about being a human being. A person who wants connection, feels life is passing before their eyes, so they want excitement. They want to feel alive and desired again. Now, as you listen, you may notice yourself drifting into your own thoughts, your own memories, your own moments of choosing something or someone because you needed to feel something again. Just let the story unfold. Let it move the way stories move, slowly at first, and then all at once. Maureen had been married for 15 years. 15 years of routines, responsibilities, and quiet disappointments. No betrayal, no abuse, no dramatic explosions, just boredom. A slow erosion of passion. A marriage that felt like two roommates sharing a calendar, basically. Until one day she looked at her husband across the dinner table, and she realized she didn't love him anymore. Not in the way a partner should. Not in the way that makes a life feel fulfilled. So she left. She got divorced, and when she walked out of that marriage, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. She felt a spark, a sense of possibilities, a sense that life could still surprise her. But sometimes when you run towards freedom, you don't notice the cliff just beyond the horizon. As she would go to work, she worked with a man, a married man, a man who carried himself with confidence, who spoke with certainty, who made her feel and seen in a way that she hadn't felt in years. He told her he was unhappy in his marriage. He told her he was planning to leave. He told her she was the first person in a long time who made him feel alive. And when someone says those words in that tone, with that intensity, it's easy to believe them. Their affair began quietly, like a glance, a quick text here, a moment in the hallway that lasted maybe a little too long. And then it became everything. He told her he was getting divorced, but he needed time. He told her she was worth waiting for, and she waited, and waited, and waited. And 1.5 years passed, and slowly, the man who once chased her just stopped chasing at all. He stopped calling the way he did. He stopped showing up the way he used to. And when a person pulls away, you feel it. Feel it in your chest. You feel it in your stomach. And you feel it in the quiet moments when you're alone with your thoughts. She felt something was wrong. And when a woman feels something is wrong, she becomes an investigator, a detective of emotional truth. She followed the clues, the inconsistencies, the gaps in his story, the sudden changes in his schedule. And what she found was not one woman, not two, but 3 other women. That's right. 3 other women and a wife at home. And then there was her. She was starting to feel she wasn't special, wasn't chosen, and wasn't the exception. She was one of many. And when that truth hit her, it didn't hit like a slap. It hit like a slow, heavy weight, pressing down, down, down on her chest, making it hard to breathe, hard to think, hard to understand how she got here. She had left her marriage for freedom and walked straight into a cage. Now, here's where the story becomes familiar for so many people listening. She knew she needed to leave. She knew the relationship was unhealthy. She knew he would never choose her. She knew she deserved better, but she couldn't walk away. Not because she loved him, not because he treated her well, not because there was hope. She couldn't walk away because she felt she was stuck in the fantasy of who he was in the beginning, stuck in the dopamine loop of intermittent affection, stuck in the fear of being alone again, stuck because she worked with him and saw him every day, would hear his voice and feel the pull, even when she hated the feeling of the pull towards him. And sometimes, when a person is stuck, they don't need judgment. They don't need advice. They don't need someone telling them what they should or should not do. They need someone to help them wake up. And waking up is a hypnotic process, a slow realization, a gentle shift, a moment when the mind says, I don't have to stay here anymore. And as you listen to this, you might begin to notice something inside yourself, a quiet awareness, a soft recognition that people often stay in situations long after they stop serving them. And maybe, just maybe, you listening and imagine her sitting alone, thinking about the choices that she made and the choices that she still has to make. Because the truth is, when a person realizes they cannot change someone, they begin to understand only the thing they can change, which in turn is themselves. And you may find yourself breathing a little deeper now as you imagine her taking that first step, that small step, that necessary step towards reclaiming her life. And as you breathe, you may feel something loosening, something releasing, and then something letting go. Because letting go is not an action. Letting go is a process that begins the moment a person says, I deserve more than this. And maybe as you hear this, you can imagine her walking into work, seeing him and feeling nothing. No pull any longer, no longing for the man, no attachment, just clarity. Now, Maureen's story is the story of a woman who left a marriage and then lost herself in someone else's lies. But it's also the story of a woman who woke up. A woman who realized that freedom isn't found in another person. Freedom is found in the moment you choose yourself. And if you're listening right now and you yourself have been stuck, have been trapped in a cycle, held onto something or someone who wasn't holding on to you, you can take a breath. You can let something go now by choosing yourself again. Because you deserve a life that feels like yours. This is the story of Maureen. This is her story of finding a way, of working with someone on a regular basis, knowing his secrets, and finding her own true self and clarity. This is the story of Maureen. Hello, everybody. This is Greg Stewart again, and you heard the story of Maureen. And one of the key factors for Maureen that really helped her find her identity, which wasn't too much elaborated in the story, but when we got together and when she was hurting, when she found out about this man that she gave her heart to, one of the key things is that at least we didn't have to go through, she cheated on her husband to get to the place where she's at. She actually already had the blueprint of self-discovery. So with that self-discovery of knowing what she wants, being an independent, strong, empowered woman, she already had a foundation. Now, there's a lot of us out there that don't particularly have that foundation. So these methods that I used with Maureen was also helpful in reference to helping anyone going through a situation, whether they left a relationship because they were cheating to be with another man, and then they found out he was doing the same thing anyway by cheating with her, but several other women. The technique still followed in the same protocol, and that technique followed in a way that she was able to find herself again. And we utilized the form of hypnosis by empowering her, by connecting her to her true self, that you don't need a man to make you feel empowerment. You don't need a person to feel certainty. Sure, we don't want to be alone, but you want to find the right person. And this takes us to the business of ourself, our personal investment of respecting ourselves, knowing our boundaries, knowing our standards, knowing our values, which will then turn to what we need as a person. But sometimes we see the vision of someone and we let that be our steps to move forward. Well, I'm getting energy from this person, I'm giving it back. Could this be the one? And remember, unless you do your research in an investment of any sort, whether it's people or owning a business, which still has to do with people, know your focal points, know what you're focusing on, check under the hood. The car may look amazing, but I can't tell you in my youth how many vehicles I had purchased because it looked good and it was tuned up just right, and I took it for a spin. If I only took it for a spin a little longer, I probably would have seen the faults that came to hurt me later. And the same goes with a relationship such as this. She didn't really take the time to look over or under the hood, I should say, because she worked with this man. But remember, we all wear a mask, and her mask that she was seeing with him didn't indicate who he really was until she started an intimate relationship. But there is a question mark to that, right? Because she knew she was getting involved with a married man. Now, being aware of that, maybe she thought I am strong enough not to commit exclusively, to just have fun. But karma has a way, and I did emphasize this for future relationships. Karma has a way of coming back and biting us in the tush. And therefore, that's what happened here. I said, look, you don't have to be a woman of faith. You don't have to be a man of faith to believe in karma. But the universe has a way of rotating in a way that it will come back and bite you. So make the investments, because also by going into that relationship, I emphasized to her, also by going into that relationship, you went in there with bad mojo, basically. You had that feeling, I'm going to do this. Respect yourself enough. Know your value. Now, it was easy because you worked with him and you got to laugh and joke and see a side of him, but you still knew he was married. And now you're paying the price. At least she did. And she realizes the game now. She realizes, you know what? I guess I was a little more lonely than I thought. And she owned it. And I think that's part of the thing. Rather than placing blame to get out of a relationship or even build one, don't leave your house cleaner than the way you found it. Okay? That's the key factor, because it did take two to tango, and she owned it. And that was the key to her success when we got into the hypnosis in reference to placing suggestions of, what do you value? What are your beliefs that you want? Not the limiting beliefs, but the beliefs that you want, that you can have those outcomes. And then once you have those values, they become standards. And now she has new standards. Let me tell you about her standards that Maureen has performed for herself. That business where she met this man, she wasn't trying. She said, I swear I wasn't trying to hurt that man. But I realized I needed to get away. And through the years of even a marriage that I wasn't happy with within myself, I was unfulfilled. I was able to put away money. And when I put away money, I didn't realize I put it in and I invested it. And I opened a center eventually of my own. That was that place where I worked. And I knew that he would not be a good fit. And he begged and pleaded to stay in the company and that I will avoid. But during the time before he knew I was going to purchase it, Maureen said he still tried to hook up with me, to connect with me, because now one of his little toys that he's seen us as objects was no longer going to perform to his ego, to his narcissistic personality. And she realized through the work, through the hypnosis, and the investments of focusing on herself, that this person wasn't the right fit. So in turn, she said, I need you now to step back, and I would like to give you your 60 days notification that you will be leaving this practice, that you will be leaving here. And so he ended up leaving with a stripped ego. With rejection comes obsession. So he tried even within that time frame, she said. And she said, the more you press, the more I'm going to call this harassment. It's up to you. Well, he ended up leaving. She has a wonderful establishment. And she's found herself in a way that has just bloomed her to really see, connect, and have her identity opposed to the behavior that she once was. And she's happy and fulfilled, like you can be as well. So, before we leave you, please once again subscribe, like, share, and comment because it goes a long way. Should you have anything that you would like to discuss, like Maureen, or in the past, some of those other podcasts that we played that might relate to you or something different, please just email us at gregcoaching@gmail.com. Also, comment. If you don't want to be that exclusive, just say, I know blank, and they're going through this. And we'll make a podcast on it in reference to how to help blank and get what they need of any gender, any source, any person. We are human beings, so this is for all of us. So at the end of the day or evening, I hope you have a great one. And until next time, we'll see you on The Greg Stewart Show.